Hi everyone, this is Anne-Marie from Alma Surfside Jewelry. Thank you so much for joining me for another beading tutorial today. For those of you who don't know me, I have an Etsy shop where I sell handmade surf and beach-inspired jewelry, and the name of my shop is Alma Surfside, and I also have an Instagram account which is Alma Surfside 7. So be sure to check out both of those links in the description box down below. And for today's beading tutorial, I'm going to be going over a beaded bracelet using Superduos as the main focal point. And so there's an arch over each of the Superduo components. And yeah, I've used some rondelles in between them. And then I've just used a very simple herringbone stitch to finish off the bracelet. So that's what it looks like. That's what we're working on today. But instead of using this color scheme today, I'm going to be using some different colors so that I can start on a new bracelet. But of course, I'm going to be using the exact same technique. Okay, so I'll tell you about the colors that I've used for this piece, and then I'll go over the new colors that I'll be using in today's project. So that's what it looks like. And in terms of beading materials, what you're going to need for today is fire line, and I always use 6 pound or 0.006, and this is from the Berkeley brand. Okay, in the first pile there on my mat are Toho seed beads. So these are 11 O's, and the color that I've used here is galvanized silver, and they also go by the name of aluminum on some websites. Okay, so that's what they look like. In the second pile there on my mat are 15 O's, again by Toho. Okay, same color, galvanized silver or aluminum. In the third pile there at the top of my mat are check number 2 bugle beads. I always tend to use these because they're the perfect size, and these are clear silver lined. Okay, so there you have a nice silver sheen to them. And in this pile here below, under 2 millimeter, are some rondelles. Okay, so these are crystal color, clear AB finish. Okay, again, 2 millimeters. So really, really tiny and delicate, which I love. And here on my beading mat on the right hand side, I don't have a tag for them, but I'm using Superduos today. Okay, so this color is unbelievable, and I paid a fortune for this bag, but I thought it was worth it because it's such a bright color that's really, really hard to find. Anyways, these are called Bondeli Mint MT, which is matte. Okay, so that's the color there. And the other Superduos that I'll be using today are white, and these are called Chalk Matte. Okay. So that's the finish on them there. In the original piece that I created, I thought I would just quickly go over the colors that I used. So the first color was Lilac Luster. The next color over was Light Azure Pastel. Okay, so it has a very glossy finish to it. The color in the middle there is Pastel White. Okay, the fourth color there is Light Sapphire Metallic Matte. And then the final color that I used is light green with a luster finish. Okay. So I thought, you know, that made for a really interesting bracelet, just using all the different Superduo colors together. And but of course, if you only have one color on hand, you could do that as well. So besides the beads that you see there on my mat, I also have jump rings here, so you'll need 2. And these are stainless steel silver colored jump rings. And you'll also need a lobster clasp. Okay, so I'm using the same color. And in terms of tools, it's helpful to have scissors on hand so that you can cut your fire line as you're working. And it's also useful to have some flat nose pliers so that you can work with the jump rings at the very end of your project. Okay. And of course, you'll need a beading needle, and you can go ahead and cut off an arm's length worth of fire line and attach that to your beading needle. Okay, so go ahead and gather all of your materials and let's get started. Okay, so the plan for today's tutorial will be to go over two of the main focal components here, and we're going to attach them. And then I'm going to show you how to get started on the herringbone stitch that carries on throughout the side of the bracelet. And then of course how to create the closure. Okay, so I'm not going to go over how to do, all 5 of these because it's the same technique, you just repeat it. Okay, so I thought it would make it much more efficient if we just covered the first 2, and then of course you're going to carry on your own and complete the bracelet. Okay, so to get started on the project, I'm going to go ahead and pick up one of my Superduos in this gorgeous color, and I'm going to push that down on my thread. Okay, and I don't need much of a tail, just enough to be able to tie off a knot eventually. Okay, so just maybe an inch or so, whatever you're comfortable working with in order to create a knot. And then I'm going to pick up one of my 2mm rondelles in the crystal color and another Superduo in the same color. Okay, so it's just going to be sandwiched together like that. And then I'm going to pick up 3 of my 11/0s in this galvanized silver color. And I'm going to go down the first hole there of the Superduo. Okay, so my thread's coming out of the left, and I'm going to go down the bead on the right, like that, so that it creates a bit of an arch at the top. And then I'm going to pick up another rondelle in the crystal color and go down the Superduo below. Okay, so now that I've gone down the Superduo below, I'm going to do the exact same thing by picking up another 3 11/0s. There we go, so 3 beads there on your needle, and you're going to go up the left side here of the Superduo, the crystal, and the other Superduo here, and you're going to exit the seed bead there at the top. Okay, there we go. Okay, and pull tight. So that's the basic shape that you want to have at this point. And now we're going to go down the next 2 seed beads on the right hand side. I'm going to go ahead and pick up a 15/0, one of my check number 2 bugle beads, and another 15/0. Okay, so I'm coming out up here on the right hand side, and I'm going to insert my needle into this bead here at the bottom. Okay, so I'm on the bottom on the right hand side as well, and pull on my thread. Okay, so you can see that attaches to the side of our component. And then I'm going to carry on through the next 2 seed beads here. Okay, so now that both of my threads are together in the right spot, at this point I can tie off the knot that I was talking about earlier. So I'm going to do at least 3 knots here on the outside of my shape. And you really want to make sure that you're pulling nice and tight, because if it's a loose knot, the whole component is going to look sloppy. Okay, so make sure that you're really working hard at pulling the thread together. And make sure you go over and under, doing different types of knots there. Okay, so see how that's sitting nice and snug on the outside with the check number 2 bugle bead? That's what you want to have, okay? So at this point I can pick up my scissors and cut off the excess thread, cutting as closely as possible, okay? And I can put that aside. Okay, so at this point I'm going to go ahead and pick up a 15/0, one of my number 2 bugles, and another 15/0. So 3 beads there on your needle, and you're going to go down the bead there on the lower right side of the component and pull on your thread. Okay, so that's the shape that you want to have. And of course we're going to go through all of the beads on the outside of this shape one last time to make sure that everything's connected. So I'm going through the entire bottom part. as well as up the side here. And all the way around, so through all of the seed beads there on the other side as well. And again, pulling tight, and then to finish it off, I can go down the bugle bead, and I can tie a knot there by going on the inside of the shape and creating a knot there right before the 15-0. And if I want to do another knot, I can go through the 15-0 here and creating one on the inside. Okay, so that's the basic shape. It's now complete. And you can go ahead and cut off your thread at this point. So all of these units are created individually, and then I attach them at the end. Okay, so that's the first one. And now I'm ready to start the second one. Okay, so let's go through that again. So what I need to do is pick up the Superduo in the next color that I'm planning on using. So in this case, I'm going to be using white. And I push that down on my thread. So I'm going to leave again about an inch so that I can create a knot. And I'm going to pick up one of my rondelles in 2 millimeters and my other Superduo. And I'm going to push those down on my thread so that they're sandwiched together. Pick up 3 of my 11-0s. Okay, I'm going to go down the hole there on the right-hand side of the Superduo so that it creates a bit of an arch there at the top. And I'm going to pick up another rondelle in 2 millimeters and go down the hole on the lower right side. Okay, now I need to pick up 3 more 11-0s. And you'll notice my thread is coming out of the bottom right, so I'm going to go up the left-hand side here, going through the Superduo, the crystal, and the other Superduo, pulling tight. Okay, and then I'm going to go through these seed beads up here, all 3 of them, until I reach the outside on the right. And then I can pick up a 15-0, one of my bugle beads, and another 15-0. Okay, and then I'm going to insert my needle into the bottom right-hand side. And then of course you're going to pull on your thread to make sure that everything's nice and snug. Okay. And then you can carry on through the next 2 seed beads that are adjacent. Okay, at this point, because we have both of our threads pretty much at the same point here, we're going to go ahead and create a knot, okay, or several knots, I should say, so you probably want to do at least 2 or 3. And make sure that it's really nice and tight before you cut off the excess thread. Okay. So I take my scissors and cut it as closely as possible and put that little piece aside. Okay, I'm going to grab my needle. And now we need 1 15-0 as well as a bugle bead and another 15-0. There we go. And I'm going to insert my needle on the bottom right here. Okay, and then we're going to go all the way around this component one last time just to make sure that everything is sitting nice and tight. Okay, So pull as you're working your way around, adjusting everything as much as possible. Okay, so I've gone down the bugle bead there. And to finish off this component, I'm going to create a knot here by going on the inside, like we did before. Okay, so that's one knot, and I can go through the 15-0 if I want to do another knot. And going on the inside again and tying it off. Okay, so component number 2 is now done, and I'm happy that it's nice and secure. So what I'm going to do is attach the 2 components together. I'm not going to cut off the extra thread just yet because I have the other piece sitting here on my mat. So I'm going to carry on through all of the seed beads here. And I'm going to go down the bugle bead. Okay, I'm going to pick up my other component here, which is in the blue color. And I'm going to insert my needle just in the bugle bead of this component. Okay, so right there. And then I'm just going to sew these together by going up through the first component here that has the white Superduos. Okay, so going up the other bugle and pulling them together. Okay, so at this point you can go ahead and reinforce that. Okay, so you're going to go down the bugle there on the left. Okay, so we've gone through the bugle beads a couple of times, and I know that I want to have this color here on the outside of my bracelet. So I'm just going to go back up through this bugle bead here on the left side. Okay, and then I'm going to work my needle around to the outside of this component. Okay, and now I'm going to show you how to create the outside part of the bracelet. Okay, so let's assume that this is the section that we've just finished. Okay, so these 2 components that we've attached. So now I'm going to go over this side here, the left side, on how to attach that part, and then how to start your herringbone stitch to finish off the bracelet on this side. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and pick up 3 of our 11-0s. Three beads there on your needle, and you're going to go through the opposite side of the bugle bead. Okay, so that's what you want to have in order to start the herringbone stitch. And you can go through that a couple of times just to reinforce it, to make it a little bit more stiff. Okay, so I just went through all of the seed beads, back through the bugle bead, and then back through the first 2 seed beads. Okay, and now I'm going to pick up 2 of my 11-0s, and I'm going to start the herringbone stitch at this point. So I'm going to go through the opposite side of the bead sitting there in the center, the middle one, and pull on my thread. Okay, so that sets me up for the herringbone stitch. I'm going to go through the bead on the right, pick up 2 of my 11-0s, go down the bead there on the left, and then back up the 2 beads sitting there on the right. There we go. Okay, so that's the first part of our herringbone. Okay, so obviously for the side of the bracelet, you're going to have to measure it against your wrist just to see how many times you need to repeat the herringbone stitch in order to get the right length. But anyways, let's continue by picking up 2 more seed beads in 11-0. I'm coming out of the right hand side and I'm going to go down the first bead on the left, so just one of them. Pull on my thread and I'm going to go back up 2 beads on the right. Okay, so we've gone over the herringbone stitch quite a bit in my videos, but for those of you who really don't know what it is, it's good to take the time to just explain how it works. Okay, so you're only working with 2 beads at a time to do this. Let's go over that once more. So I'm picking up 2 of my 11-0s. My thread is coming out of the right hand side, and I'm going to go down 1 of the beads on the left and then back up through 2 of the beads on the right. There we go. Okay, so that's how you create, the very simple herringbone finish on your bracelet. And then I'm not going to go over, I'm not going to go over the herringbone stitch all the way down the side of the bracelet because it's a very repetitive stitch. So I don't think you want to see me do that on camera. So anyways, once you reach the right length of the side of your bracelet, you're going to do a closure. And I'm just going to go over that really quickly here. So I'm going to pick up a total of 5 15-0s. There we go. So I have, let's see, 3 and 2, a total of 5. And then to do the closure, I'll show you on the other piece that I had finished earlier. I've just used a total of 5 15-0s and, a circular shape there on the end of the herringbone stitch. Okay, so that's how you finish off the piece. So I'll just show you briefly here. So now my thread's coming out of the left here, and I'm going to go down the bead on the right. Okay, so that's what creates the closure shape. And then of course you can reinforce that by going through all of the beads there, including the 11-0 that's adjacent. And back down the 3 15-0s. As well as the 11-0 here. Okay, so if you go through it a couple of times, it just makes it stiffer. And then you can kind of prop all the beads up with your needle, just so that it has a nice rounded shape. Okay, and then once you're happy with your closure, you can just go on the inside, down the middle of the beads, okay? And then you can create a knot here. And I'm not going to actually tie it off because I want to keep working on this piece, but you can see that you're going to create the knot below the very first 11-0 there on the right side. And then you can create multiple knots by going through the beads down below. So some of the 11-0s and creating knots, wherever you see fit, okay? So that's how you finish the piece. And what I'll do is I'll take my other piece here that I've already finished, and I'll grab my flat nose pliers and one of the jump rings and open up the jump ring, insert it through this closure here, and close it back up. And I can grab my other jump ring as well as my lobster clasp. And I'll put both of those components through the other loop on the other side. Okay, so you can see this one has a jump ring and this side has the jump ring as well as the lobster claw. And then to close it, you just open up the lobster and put it through the jump ring. Okay, so anyways, I think we'll stop the tutorial there. I hope that gave you a good overview of how to create each individual unit, how to attach them, and then how to go to the outside of the piece and start your herringbone stitch. Okay. So anyways, thank you so much for joining me for today's beading tutorial. I hope that you really enjoyed making this very easy but very beautiful piece. And I like the effect of the rondelles in the center. I think it gives, you know, a nice sparkle to the piece. And I like the way all of the Superduos are sitting side by side. I think that's a really cool look. And very lightweight, very easy to wear. I think it's very versatile. It can go with a lot of different things in my wardrobe, so I'm very happy about that. And if you haven't already done so, please take a minute to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you know of any beaders that have not heard of my channel and you think it would be helpful to them, please go ahead and share this video with them. That would be greatly appreciated. I also have the super thanks button that you can use to donate to my channel. And that's it for today. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, take care. Bye for now.